This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're on location with Innergized Design. Since 1995, they've been providing design, redesign, staging, and color consultation for residential and business clients here locally as well as nationwide. Deborah, thanks so much for joining us here today. Let's start off a little bit about yourself. I mean, quite honestly, your passion is in helping people enhance their spaces, be it their personal space or their business space. This is what you do. Tell me how it is you got involved and started doing this.
Well, I've always loved how environments affect us and impact us, and the joy of the kaleidoscope of it, how nature and what is around us can affect us. But my passion really has probably been for how people learn and change. So I ended up going into teaching, which seemed to be a closer fit. In education, what I learned was, in my special ed classes as an undergraduate, and almost every class they said, set your environment up for student success. Look for the cues and triggers that will enhance a learning environment so that a student can succeed, and diminish what might distract or take away from that experience. And I thought, wow, why not the rest of us? This is great. And in graduate school, I learned about environmental psychology, which again uses environment to alter and address how people act and react in an environment. Pretty cool, except mostly it was industry, big business, advertising, not my cup of tea. So I went on to teach in public schools, in public education with all ages, until I got hit by a 2x4 basically, and I was homebound for a period of time with a chronic illness. And I started looking around my own environment, my own four walls, to say, what can I do for myself?
I mean, your journey takes you very interesting here to this space that we're at today. I mean, basically, they say that where we live basically can affect how we live. And like you said, that is what you learned. Do you really believe that spaces can be created that really support us and uplift us daily?
The research is coming from across disciplines, from all kinds of sciences and arenas, so there's little debate about that. The problem is coordinating the information and making it practical and bringing it home, if you will. So that's where I come in. There's very few resources that will allow homeowners to do, and small business owners to do that. But look at marketing, look at industry. They talk about productivity, they talk about efficiency, that kind of things, and they would not do it if it didn't work.
Like you said, research, basically studies. Yet common sense would tell us that the environment should support us. But yet, as an amateur or as a consumer, common sense is not enough for me. This is where a professional can really come in and steer me in the right direction, correct?
I've done the research for you. Most of what's available, there's no secret about it. You can find it. Much of it's already out there and free. But who has the time in today's society to go out there and ferret all of that information out? Never mind, put it together and practice to see, oh, this is probably what's going to happen when you combine things in this direction.
So like you say, the first step is really understanding what it is we want. Like you've said, walls do talk. The question is, are they talking back to us in the way that we want them to? That really is what you go after.
Absolutely, and being conscious of our environment is the first step of that. So often we go numb to what's around us, and we don't any longer pay attention to what those subtle factors are. Once we're aware of that, then we can start manipulating it in a way that's positive.
Manipulating in a way that's positive. First of all, you make a space look great. You make a space feel great. But really, you go beyond the aesthetics. You basically make sure that it's functional. Tell me that's a big key for you.
Absolutely. Most of my clients don't call me and say, make my space feel good. They say, make my space look good. And absolutely, that's an important part of it. It doesn't feel good if it doesn't look good to you and support you in that way. But that's more like the tip of the iceberg. So you start there and you look at all of these elements too and see how you can pull it all together. It's like putting together a puzzle, really.
Excellent. I mean, I like the fact that a place can look great, yet works perfectly for us, especially when you're talking about kitchen designs, the center of a house and a place like that. I mean, one of the things I see is that you've got different, really, levels of service that you're able to provide for folks. Some of them might be as simple as just getting a consultation. And is that sometimes enough for folks where they get a consultation, they're able to move forward on their own?
Actually, I'm doing more and more of that. Also, I'm I'm convinced that a lot of the time what people need is a sounding board, someone to help them go in the right direction and start pulling things together. And that's what I do a lot of the time.
One of the things, I mean, if they do get a consultation, they decide to bring you on board to actually come in and do the design, how important is it to be basically on time, on budget? After all, you are working in someone's environment.
I like to under-promise and over-deliver. I know that's a cliche, but
Sure.
People need to be realistic about what they're working with, and you can work with a small budget, for example, but they need to know up front that sometimes it takes a little extra work to get there. So know to explore your parameters and then your priorities within that. Okay, so maybe this is all we can accomplish this 6 months. Next year we'll plan in, that kind of thing.
I mean, what people have to remember is we're not talking about a science. This is an art. And so, and obviously you go in and you've got a left side going and the right side of your brain making sure that you see everything happening, but things can change according to the journey that you're taking. Do people seem to kind of evolve with you when you put together a plan for them?
It's a joy. It's a joy. That's the whole process, to have, to watch this whole thing unfold. And sometimes people have a very clear idea of what they think they want, and then they change midstream. And other times it's just like, this is what I want, but I don't know how to put it together. So again, it's the puzzle and putting the pieces together.
Obviously, you're able to help folks with new construction. Maybe they want to start from scratch and begin there. But also, people want, what about redesign? When here's what I have, but I really want to love the space again that I'm in. Are those projects that you enjoy?
Absolutely. And places of transition in people's lives is very often when that happens, which goes back to my love of helping people get the most that they can out of life, because that's when you're redefining who you are and how you're showing up in the world. So I think of one young man I had recently, 30-something, who was recently divorced, and with that change went all the furniture. So he had a total chance to redefine how he lived in his space, and that was a wonderful process to be part of.
As consumers, we have all looked through beautiful magazines, seen some great designs. Professionals realize that those don't just happen. You need a professional to help you out with that. Really tapping into your over 2 decades of experience. We're talking about color, shapes, textures. Do all these things come together? Obviously more than just a consumer would be able to work with.
I'm not sure I understand about more than a consumer would be able to work with. You're talking about a different art, really, when you're talking about photography or film. That's a two-dimensional, in a way, prospect, which when you live in a space, it's not. It's entirely different levels of dimension and interaction and living. So there's a little bit of difference in how that art is approached, if you will.
And we speak of the message that a room can give us. Obviously, the message it gives our family and our friends. In business, I mean, this can really affect the bottom line. Well, if we don't have an office or a space that is not conveying a message that is in line with what we're doing as a business, tell me what you're able to provide for the commercial clients as well.
Sometimes it's a matter of taking it, my clients call it an aha, something that they should have seen already and didn't, perhaps. I had one client who had a pretty good career, and she said the best office in her building, but somehow or another she felt blocked professionally. So we did a little tweaking. We changed this, we changed that. We put up awards that she was particularly aware of. We put things in areas where she could look at, this is why I get up in the morning, this is why I do what I do, so you stay motivated and engaged. And it worked for her. She said not only did she much love coming to work, which she didn't before, but shortly after, within a few months, she was promoted. Now, I'm not saying there was magic there that made that happen, but I think the shift inside her maybe allowed for some of that progress to be made.
Interesting. I know from experience myself that, especially when it comes to design, basically, you want to make sure you do it right the first time. I mean, by going out and getting a professional, you can actually save money by not having to go back and do it again. Is this what, have you ever come across situations where you have to go in and fix up what somebody may have done and thought they had an idea of what they were doing?
Absolutely. We get that a lot, but if you've watched much HGTV, you'll also see the professionals sometimes say, oops, that's not what I had in mind. And I want people not to take the whole process so seriously. Let's explore, let's see what we can do to be on the right track, and then let's have fun with it. because it should be a joy of discovery and putting the pieces together. So fixing it, yes. Did it cost you more than you wanted it to? Perhaps, but now this is where we are. Let's see where we go from here, and maybe we can make that oops turn into something that was wonderful.
So a lot of, like you say, basically you're not just focused on the end result. You're looking at the whole process. To get there should be something that you enjoy.
Right. It's absolutely self-discovery, honestly. So figuring out how you really want your daily spaces to live is what you're exploring, although I usually don't talk to my clients in those terms.
One of the ways you're actually able to stretch a budget, if you will, that you take what they existingly have there and basically you're able to energize it, if you will. What are some of the responses you get from people as they see some of maybe their existing room come together in a whole new way?
Good question. Sometimes I never thought to use it in that way. Sometimes it becomes fresh and they enjoy the piece again, and it was headed for donation. Sometimes it's become incredibly popular for people to go out and find older pieces and breathe life into it again. Well, that's earth-friendly, that's budget-friendly, that's a win all the way around. But that's one way to save money, I guess, but being able to plan and have an overall picture of where you want to go is really important too. And when you start looking at your spaces with fresh eyes, you start seeing things you didn't see before.
Interesting. I mean, one of the places that you're able to help companies out there really design something that really affects their bottom line quickly is that in staging. Tell me what you're able to do for folks as far as in the real estate market.
Well, I'm no longer doing empty house staging. What I will do is go in and work with a client using what they already have. That's my area of expertise, if you will. I'm really good at reinventing and reusing what people already have. Frankly, in America, most of us have too much already. So removing and making it more impersonal so that a buyer can come in and say, yes, I can see myself living here. Where staging for better living is exactly the opposite. Sometimes people will say, it looks okay, but something's missing. And a lot of the time that something missing is them. Where are their personal touches? Where are the things that make them happy? So it's putting the personal piece back in there so doesn't feel like a bed and breakfast or a hotel. It's you.
Interesting. Basically, your passion, like you said, is the fact that you believe we all deserve to have a space that will energize us in the morning when we go out and live, and also kind of a retreat to come back home to maybe after a hectic day. Does this continue to be a very rewarding occupation for you?
It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I love it. I love the puzzle, which of course is fun. It's intellectually challenging and it's fun and creative to do those kind of things. But I love how I can touch people's lives, and I'm so honored that I'm allowed into people's lives on that level.
It's very personal, I would say.
Absolutely, it is.
That is wonderful. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is her website. On the website, first of all, you can take a look at the different services she provides there. Once again, locally, she's able to help folks set up a consultation, but also across the nation. Basically, she can be taken there virtually because of technology. You're able to help folks as well. Take a look also at the testimonials right there on the website. You're going to see she's been able to help people from a business standpoint, residential, small areas, large houses. These are all projects I imagine that you take pride in regardless of the size of them.
It has really nothing to do with how impactful the project will be.
Wonderful. Viewers, contact information is right there at the bottom of the screen. Once again, this is a company that has an A+ on Angie's list. Company that's been around since 1995. Check out the testimonials on there as well. Remember, Innergized Designs out on location here in Broomfield, Colorado. Wrap yourself in well-being. This is Gary Atensi with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know. Let me ask you, you've had some design work done. Share with me what it was that made you decide to go with the particular service that you did.
Well, we had a fire in our house, and the basement got burned, and so we had a chance to do whatever we wanted to do with this space. And so we wanted to make that space into an office, an entertainment/family room, and a spa-like bathroom.
When you decided to go out and look for professional services, where did you begin? What were you looking for in particular?
Well, I was really hesitant to hire an interior decorator in the first place because first I thought I wasn't sure I could afford it, and secondly, I worried that it wouldn't come out the way I wanted it to come out. So I just searched the internet, was just going through, and I came across Deb's website, and it kind of spoke to me. What she had on the website about, what she spoke about on the website really spoke to me, and I decided right then and there to give her a call. And I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did. After that first initial consultation, was your mind more set at rest and you realized that this is a direction that A, you could afford, and B, it was something that sounded kind of exciting to do?
Definitely. The first meeting with Deb, she put me at ease, made me feel comfortable, and gained my trust. I felt like I could trust her in letting her do what she wanted to. And I am so glad I did. She sat down with us and she really discovered what we wanted out of that room, out of that space downstairs. And she delved into our, what are our likes, what are our dislikes, what do we like in a way of decorating style, how do we want that room to function, what was our budget, how much could we afford. And I think paying such close attention to those details, those preferences of ours, is what allowed her to capture our personality and our style and express it in that space, perfectly express it in that space.
It's interesting that really a crisis is what brought this forward for you. Now that you look back at it, the end result, did it exceed your expectations of what happened down there?
Oh my goodness, we weren't just satisfied, we were blown away by what she had done with that space. I could have never dreamt anything so perfect and so us. And it was magazine quality, yet affordable, and a space that we were so comfortable spending time in, a lot of time in. And we were just floored by what she did.
Wonderful.